Oliver? He mostly handled the outdoor chores. What kind of chores? Jim asked more carefully. For example, he did the house shopping, took care of the garden and the yard flowers. The physical and outdoor tasks were his responsibility. Jim listened attentively to Lily's response. Oliver Brown apparently had a close connection with the house, but unlike the two maids, his work was mostly outside. If Oliver wanted to enter the house, he wouldn't need to break the door. The detective considered different scenarios in his mind. His suspicion toward Emma Lewis and Oliver Brown had grown stronger. He needed to talk to them as soon as possible. He decided not to ask Lily any more questions so as not to make her overly nervous. With a forced smile, he said, "Thank you, Lily. If I have more questions, I might trouble you again." Lily nodded without saying a word and went back inside the house. Jim, who had noticed her anxious behavior, stood for a moment in front of the door and glanced at the house. Something about Lily's behavior seemed strange. Was she hiding something? Without hesitation, Jim walked down the steps, got into his car, and as he drove away, he kept thinking about the names Emma Lewis and Oliver Brown.
Detective Jim Gordone, now holding two key names in the Walter family murder case, decided to carefully and systematically question the suspects. Next, he was going to visit Oliver Brown, a man who, according to Lily, was often working outside the house, yet his behavior remained unclear to Jim. Meeting Oliver Brown. Oliver's house was located in one of the old, dimly lit streets of the city. The cracked walls and curtains covering the windows gave a worn appearance. Jim rang the doorbell. There was no answer. After a moment, he knocked harder. A few seconds later, trembling footsteps approached. The door slowly opened, and a thin young man with messy hair and shabby clothes appeared. His eyes were red, as if he had just woken up or hadn't slept for days. Jim looked at him sharply and asked, "Are you Oliver Brown?" The boy cast a hesitant, worried glance, then, after a moment of silence, replied uncertainly, "Yeah, that's me." Jim showed his ID card. "I'm Detective Jim Gordone. I'm investigating the murder of the Walter family. I want to ask you some questions." Oliver's expression suddenly changed from lethargy to anger upon hearing the names Lily and Emma. His voice raised as he said, "Those girls are devils. Don't even mention their names. Filthy, deceitful liars." Jim paused for a moment, then quickly took control of the situation. "Oliver, calm down. I'm just after the truth. Who do you think killed the Walter family?" Oliver hesitated, breathing heavily, wiping sweat from his forehead with his sleeve. His voice trembled. "It was them. Those two maids. I swear, they had a plan. For a long time. Especially Emma. She hated Mrs. Walter deeply. And Lily, beneath that innocent look, is a sleeping snake. I'm certain, without a doubt." Jim carefully observed Oliver's behavior and words. Something about his statement was disturbing. Was Oliver truly telling the truth, or trapped in a dangerous delusion? The detective thanked him and left. Now it was time to visit Emma Lewis. Visiting Emma Lewis's family. When Jim arrived at Emma Lewis's house, a simple brick building with a modest decoration stood before him. Just as he was about to approach the door, a young girl standing nearby caught his attention. She looked cautious and kept glancing around. Jim stepped closer and said, "Hello, may I ask you some questions?" The girl startled a bit, looked worried, and softly replied, "Who are you? I don't know you." Jim showed his ID card and said, "I'm Detective Jim Gordone. I'm investigating the murder of the Walter family." The girl's color drained from her face. After a moment of silence, she said, trembling, "How can I help?" Jim asked directly, "Is this Emma Lewis's house?" The girl clearly became anxious. She hesitated and cautiously replied, "Yes. Is something wrong with Emma?" Her eyes were full of fear and worry. Jim realized her reaction was not just natural, but full of hidden secrets. What did Emma's sister know? Was she hiding something? Jim smiled slightly and said calmly, "I only have a few questions. If possible, I'd like to talk with your sister." The girl nodded reluctantly, opened the door, and invited Jim inside. Emma was sitting behind the door, as if she already sensed something would happen. Jim entered the room and said calmly and formally, "Hello, I'm Detective Jim Gordone. If you allow, I want to ask you some questions regarding the Walter family case." Emma, initially a bit flustered, answered in a trembling voice, "Hello, how can I help?" Jim noticed her anxiety and tried to calm the atmosphere with a smile. "Don't worry, I'm only after the truth. There's no need to stress." Jim took out his notebook and asked, "How long did you work for the Walter family?" Emma, still hesitant, after a moment answered, "About 4 years." Jim softened his tone and asked, "During that time, how were your relations with Lily and Oliver? Did you have any special friendship?"